Yes. Love that song. Hey, my friends, it's Andy coming to you live from Orange County, California. And yes, 2020 has been a year of impossibilities in a lot of ways, both in our country, in my personal life. And I'm going to bring you a couple of those things to kind of, I don't know, I hope to bring some positive light to this year because unlike myself, I understand that there are people that are really distressed about everything that's happened over this year. Excuse me while I open this can. It's bubbly. It really is bubbly. It's called bubbly. But I really do believe, and early on, and I don't know if any of you that are on currently or that have watched over the last couple months remember way back at the beginning of the pandemic and the beginning of 2020, when things began to kind of go a little bit sideways. I said, this is a great opportunity for you as an individual to turn whatever's going to happen, whatever's happening now to you around. And we thought at the time it was only going to be like 14 days. And then we thought, well, maybe it's just going to be like another month. And then maybe it's just going to be another couple months. And then it just kept right. But early on, what I said was that, hey, anybody want to get into the mask business? And everybody laughed at me and said, oh, you're being ridiculous. And why are you fear mongering? And I said, because I think I had this feeling that we were going to need masks. And I was being told what an idiot I was. And then yet, a couple months later, I should have been in the mask business. What was I thinking? But I told people this is a time for opportunity when things are going awry. And I'm going to talk about just one thing really quick here that may sound a little strange. But I've been in the police dog business for years, 30 years up to this point, and trained a lot of bomb dogs, trained bombs for Disneyland and for a whole bunch of other companies and police departments. And narcotics dogs and police dogs that are trained to search for bad guys, bite bad guys, and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things about being in a business like that is that when tragedy happens, business is good. And so I think early on, especially being in law enforcement for 21 years, is that when things aren't good, there's always opportunity. I mean, don't always look at when things are bad that it's bad. That there always is something positive that can come out of even things that are bad. So early on, I've always had this kind of attitude. And then things in regard to President Trump, when he was first elected, and things began to, go sour with our country in regard to the Democrats, because they're evil, demonic people, is that they wanted to do everything they possibly could to destroy not only him, but conservatives, and talk about how we are racist. I was told I was a Nazi and a whole bunch of other stuff. And again, I was like very positive, like, wow, there's some good thing. And so created a show. And then there was some stuff that happened with the police. And so I had more topics. And I know this sounds really bizarre, but you can look for opportunity at a time of unusual happenings and occurrences that are happening around the world. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'll talk about some of the things that I thought were actually impossible for me that have become possible, all in this fantastic year of 2020. 2020 is an amazing year. Hey, Hattie, nice to see you. My love of my life. And then we have Carol, also from Anaheim Police Department back in the day. We used to hang out and have fun with, what was it, 1010 South Harbor? Is that where we used to go after work? And there was plenty of times where a whole group of police officers and people that worked at the police department, we would hang out at 1010 South Harbor. Not late. I just got started. All right. So first, what I'm going to talk about that. I mean, didn't happen in 2020, but President Trump's presidency occurred in regard to an impossibility. Everybody said it was impossible that he would become president. It's impossible that he would get past that he would even be nominated. And yet, so his whole history was overcoming the naysayers. The people would say that whatever is going to be around Donald Trump, it was going to fail. His foreign policies were going to fail. The financial aspects of our country, the stock market, the infrastructure, everything that would fail and was impossible for him. Oh, the wagon wheel too. Yeah, wagon wheel. Oh my gosh, Carol. Yes, I forgot about the wagon wheel. And so the impossibilities that were put before us and saying he cannot do it. He proved everybody wrong. Now let's bring this into 2020. And one of the most important things that occurred in 2020 was this thing. Now this isn't, I don't want to hear or necessarily bring to attention the lack of that's not the word I'm looking for. The people that don't like vaccines, whatever your view is on that, that doesn't matter. Not in regard to this subject matter. But I'm going to bring in Dan Bongino, which I love to bring around every so often. But he had a really great a portion of his show today that talked about some of these things that were impossible. So let's bring this one in, and I'm just going to share this with you really quickly. And this is Dan talking about vaccines that everybody in the media said it's impossible. He will never get a vaccine in time. And you got to understand, one of the reasons why they said that was not because, one aspect was they thought that it was impossible. They thought there is no way. This is the one thing he will not overcome, because what we want is there to be despair. We want there to be fear. We want a reason to shut down countries. We want a reason to shut down businesses. We need to make America almost unlivable so nobody would ever think voting for Donald Trump. And that was obviously their goal. And they thought, here's what we'll do is we'll say that there's no way that everything could go back to normal until there's a vaccine. And they thought this could last for years. This could last all through the next. If he happens to get elected for the next 4 years, we can use this for another 4 years, because it's taken up to 5 years sometimes to get a vaccine, not only created but get it approved so that people can actually take it. And they said, this is perfect. This is what we'll do. We'll say that you have to have a vaccine in order for us to open up the country. And here's some of the of Dan Bongino show that brings back some of these things in regard to the vaccine. So let's bring this up to the stream here, and I will mute my mic, and then I will make it fill the screen. Oops, I got to get rid of my. Gosh darn it! I need a producer. I need somebody to do this stuff for me. All right, here we go. I'm going to mute my mic. Sorry, I did it again. I tell you, I need a producer. There's a button I have to click in order for you to hear the audio. And I think in my rush to get up and running here, I did not click that button. I'm almost positive I didn't do it this time. So here we go. All right. So I'm going to mute my mic.
Joe, has the year ended yet? 2020? I'm just checking. Is it January, December?
Not yet.
Thank you, Ombudsman Joe, for that brilliant analysis. He even said it in his worst 1960s game show voice. Not yet, Dad. Thanks, Wink. Not yet. It hasn't ended. And we do have a vaccine injected into people's arms yesterday. Here's the media telling you that's absolutely impossible. Check this out.
And on a vaccine,
we'd love to see if we could do it prior to the end of the year.
But many scientists, including the president's ousted former top vaccine official, say that is overly optimistic.
That's an ambitious timeline, and many health experts aren't so sure it's achievable.
So many experts and doctors today immediately cast doubt on that.
Experts say he didn't need a miracle to be right. It would take, over a year.
Experts are warning that kind of timeline may be overly ambitious.
Health experts pushing back.
So many experts.
NBC News did a fact check on this today that a coronavirus vaccine, Trump says it could come out this year, this sort of, happy talk that he's doing about a vaccine.
You cannot talk yourself into a vaccine. The fastest a vaccine has ever been produced from start to finish is 5 years.
Previous vaccines have taken years to develop.
History actually holds a lot of different lessons for us about politicians rushing to science when it comes to vaccines.
Will we get the best vaccine in this timetable, or will we just get a vaccine?
This kind of promise is clearly political, but it's also remarkably dangerous.
Some have even argued it's perhaps dangerous.
So if we say, well, they can't really get this vaccine, the science is questionable. Now we're the negative Nancys. Oh, look at that Acosta, always trying to kill our optimism.
You understand these are some of the dumbest people on planet Earth?
I love Dan's commentary there. That always makes me laugh. So it's impossible. You can't do it. But nobody told Donald Trump it was impossible, and he made it possible. Let me bring up, I'm going to kind of fast forward here to another section of this. It's so important that John Kerry said that it was impossible to get peace in the Middle East. And I actually made a clip. I put this on my personal page. But here is another impossibility, apparently, for President Donald Trump. Oops. There we go. Hold on one second.
You don't believe me? They said this was impossible, just like they say the vaccine is possible. Yet these are the serious people, folks, and we're all the idiots. Here's John Kerry on video saying these peace deals are impossible unless you take care of the Palestinian issue first. Check this out.
There will be no separate peace between Israel and the Arab world. I want to make that very clear to all of you. I've heard several prominent politicians in Israel sometimes saying, well, the Arab world's in a different place now. We just have to reach out to them and we can work some things with the Arab world and we'll deal with the Palestinians. No, 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 and no. I can tell you that reaffirmed even in the last week as I have talked to leaders of the Arab community. There will be no advance and separate peace with the Arab world without the Palestinian process and Palestinian peace. Everybody needs to understand that. That is a hard reality.
This is like a clown show. Again, not Bozo, Krusty.
That's my favorite part. Where he just goes back and starts laughing, and just simply an impossibility. And he just really was so sure in his prediction that this would be an impossible situation. And yet we have 4 peace deals now. Currently, I believe it's 4, and 3 nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize. And so I just encouraged that. There's even, I mean, again, and Hedia even kind of laughs at me sometimes to say, no, it's not, there's still a little window. President Trump could get another 4 years. And I know it's very slim at this point. But we still have some legal opportunities. And she tells her, I don't know who you're listening to. I'm just hopeful. I'm listening to myself that so far, and this is the reason I'm bringing this up. So far, he has been told that it's impossible to get a vaccine because it can take up to 5 years, and he's done it in less than a few months. That it's impossible to get a peace deal in the Middle East, which seemingly, and I was kind of thinking, no, there's no way you can get these idiots to agree to anything. And yet he was able to do it. And so I'm not ready to say that it's impossible that Donald Trump won't get another 4 years coming up. That it's not over until Joe Biden has his hand up, and then a couple months later he goes away, goes to the old folks' home, and Kamala Harris becomes our president. I can't speak, and so. I am not ready to say in 2020 that this is impossible. So many things that were said that were impossible. There are other things that happened, not only in just 2020, but even previous to that. Again, I talked about that it was impossible that he could become president. It was impossible that he would have what was one of the things Obama said? I forget. One of you know what it is. That it was impossible for to bring something back to the United States. Forget what it had something to do with the economy, but it had to do with, bringing back jobs from China and other places back here. For whatever reason, the words are escaping me, but yet he did that too. That the economy would, and there was like some Nobel Prize winning economist who said that there's no way that it's impossible for Donald Trump to bring back a positive economy in the United States. And yet he did. And even under a pandemic, we still had record-breaking stock market, breaking jobs. That it was impossible for him to be liked within the black community. And yet more black people in the black community voted for Donald Trump during this last election. More Hispanics voted for Donald Trump in this election, that he would never get a wall built, and yet he got a wall built. And so all these impossibilities, not just in 2020, but leading up to 2020 is I'm still not ready to say that it's impossible that he can't come back and do it an immediate 4 years. Now he could come back in 2024 and do another 4 years, but I'm not ready to say that, because he's proven so many people wrong on so many levels at so many times. So April Roga says Trump will get another 4 years. Now it could be 2020, but it also could be 2024, which would be either way. I'm going to be happy. The National Guard is already strategically placed around our country under the guise of distributing vaccines. I never thought about that. That's pretty Pretty crazy. I have to admit, there is still the congressional approval of the electoral college votes. Well, do you see? Eddie, I love you. I like that I'm kind of made. I don't know. Maybe I'm having influence, but there's always something, right? There's always something that can get in there. Again, I'm not ready to say it's impossible. Because again, I almost always, there's sometimes I believe these idiots that are saying it's impossible to get a vaccine by the end of the year. And I'm thinking, gosh, I've never heard of anything being done so quickly in regard to the FDA. And I've been aware of the FDA through training of detection dogs for E. coli salmonella detection. It was literally impossible. 5 years I worked on a project and got nowhere with the FDA and the state of California, even though they're the ones who hired me and put us through a program with UC Davis and with federal grants and Chiquita and Fresh Express and a whole bunch of other Dole, other produce companies where they wanted this done. And we proved it right. And we proved that a dog could be used to search for and locate the odor of a salmonella E. coli contaminant in produce. We did it right in front of them. And we showed the dog had a very successful, a very high success rate. And it was almost an impossibly successful success rate. And yet nothing happened. Nothing happened. And so I have a history. I know how difficult it is to get these things through the FDA and the state of California Department of Public Health and Hawaii Department of Public Health, the Florida Department of Public Health, a number of them, Ireland, the UK, and had been before the UK government speaking to a number of officials over there, and none of them acted. There's always something. There's always somebody that when you bring in the possibility of doing something fast and positive that will streamline something, that somebody doesn't like it. There's always somebody that doesn't like it. There's always somebody in the politics of everything that will put a kibosh on anything that gets things done quickly. There's something wrong in government that they don't like things that are effective and done quickly. And I've seen that. And so again, Donald Trump doesn't come from that. He's not a political hack. He was never in politics, and he was a president that came from a business standpoint, and he got things done. And again, that's the reason why I'm not ready to say that this impossibility of him becoming our next, having an additional 4 years as our president is not possible. Oh, and he can always yeah, that would be a bad look, because that would be hard on him on 2024. Donald Trump is the only president during my lifetime who actually looks younger at the yeah, that is actually pretty funny. He actually, for me, he doesn't look like he changed at all. Almost every president within the first 4 years has gone from a young kind of looking person to like a haggard old man at the end. Can you imagine what I give Biden 4 months, not 4 years, as president of the United States. 4 months max as our president. Why do you think that is? The things that make you go, I don't know, because they can't get nothing done, right? They keep thinking, well, we're going to get something done, and then and they're just horrible, nasty people. Horrible, nasty people age quicker. People that are not, again, look at conservatives. Conservatives all look, for the most part, positive, happy, singing, and really positive. And then look at Democrats; they're old and haggard and ugly people, demonic people. And if you don't believe me, just look at video of BLM Antifa and what they look like, and then you look at a Trump rally and look at the difference. Just put the two videos side by side, and you will see what I'm talking about. All right. Let's get into this impossibility now on a personal level, because I got to get to cooking hamburgers for my kids. And that leads me to 2020 being a year of impossibilities where they aren't so impossible. And I got to tell you, although that my walk with Christ and my walk on earth as a Christian man or a godly man, however you want to put it, is not one that came easy. Right. I've told you the story. Last 20 years, I've been a so-called Christian, and it's not been easy. I've stumbled, I've tripped, I fall, I've done things that are not godly and not as a godly man should act. And so, whatever that may be, right? Whatever, if it's just a number of things. I've gone over them, and there's no. I mean, and I've not murdered anybody. I've not done anything like that. But you know what I mean: cussing or yelling at inappropriately or calling somebody names. I know I called. The one thing that people talk to me about all the time, and including some people that in my recent past that I still have to communicate with for obvious reasons, is that that's not very Christian when you call people morons. Well, you know what? When you're talking to evil and you're talking about to the devil, I think that you can say that because they're evil and they're devilish and they're demonic. And then some of the words I use to speak of evil sometimes comes off as bad. And I look at the Democrats as the enemy to the United States of America. I look at what they're doing to our country as demonic. I think that Nancy Pelosi is a demonic person. I think Gavin Newsom is a demonic person. And me calling him a moron is actually being nice because there's other things I want to call him and I don't. And so I really do hold back. So minus that, my walk with God, now that I've prefaced that, has been one of those things that I think many people thought was impossible. And again, I'm not trying to say that because I was a police officer, I think there were many things I did as a police officer that were very positive, and I think there were some I was faced with the possibility of going rogue or going bad, and always made the right decision because it's always the right thing to do. But I think that there are times as a police officer that you can see things and do things and have the opportunity to do things that the uniform will bring you from time to time. And kind of there's that little bit of a crossing of a line. And again, I don't want you to think that I've done anything so horrible that it's like a criminal act, but, just being egotistical, right? Have you ever seen a cop that's been egotistical? That could have been me, on some level at some times and doing things like that. Travels across the world and going to bars and drinking excessively and involving myself in debauchery and that kind of stuff, which is clearly, if anybody that knows me has been around me, and I don't know anybody Carol and Carol's seen me. Carol never did it. Carol's always been godly, but seen me at the wagon wheel, right? All of us at the wagon wheel would have a few drinks, and probably, say things and do things that were not very godly. So I can say that kind of stuff. And so when I look at that level or that impossibility of that guy now coming to a place where I'm now doing devotionals on nearly a daily basis, talking about God, meeting a woman that's such a great fit for me as where I am on my walk in regard to having somebody that's godly in your life, Hedia Maramati. And having that opportunity would seem like an impossibility. Like there's no way that the old Andy would land a godly woman like Hedia Maramati. It's an impossibility. Nobody would said, if you were to take and write out, a description of a woman and where she is in her walk with God, and then you would take the old Andy, the impossible Andy, right, and write down, he's these things. And you would go, now you would say, next, let's get another woman, right? The impossibility of us coming together was just one of those things. It was an impossibility. And you can see this, and I'm going to bring up my Facebook page here. And this is something, and I hope that I've made sense in all that, because it sounds like I was like walking around some things. It's just that it's uncomfortable talking about things like that, obviously, very clearly. But if I bring up a Facebook page, here's a post that Hedia put up today, and her story about where she's been and the impossibility of the two of us. She's Persian. I have some Indian, Hispanic, and and I live here in Orange County. She lives up in Ventura County. The chances of us attending the same church is actually nearly an impossibility, but we found the same church. Again, both of us essentially being on the same path on our walk, an impossibility. And then you come to these comments, and I'm not going to put them all, but you can clearly see that there are some people that are just so happy for us, and they have either been an observer of my transition from who I was to who I am now. And when you read, and many of you that are on my personal page can obviously see those posts, and when you see the amount of love coming from so many of my friends. I am clearly blessed, and I'm clearly unaware as I read these posts of the people that I've touched. I mean, there are people that are from my, that are police officers, or they worked in police departments, or they were the spouses of police officers, worked at, back in the day. There are people that know me from the dog world. There are people that know me from, just Facebook or Viseo or other things that I've been to. And you see all these people, and the great thing, or from my marketing in San Diego. And I've seen people from all the different stages of my life so happy with everything it is really kind of crazy. The impossibility of who I was, and even who Hedia was. And I don't think that I'm saying anything that she would be upset that I said, where she was a Muslim, right? That she clearly has and I'll let her tell her story when she wants to, but where she was in her life and where I was in Iowa life was never at that point was God, on the horizon. If you go back far enough, like God was just like, yeah, that thing, right? There's no way. I wouldn't, nobody would ever say Andy's going to be a godly man speaking about Christian things and speaking about devotionals no, that's an impossibility. And yet here we are, both of us attending a church in Chino Hills. Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. We show up on the same day at this event and get put together by two people that work at the church by accident or on purpose by God. And we get together and find each other at the same time. Is literally an impossibility becoming possible. Through what means? Through God. We can only claim. Because there's no other reason, right? And so when we look at 2020, the year impossibilities, with the possibilities through impossibilities, it's either because you just simply, and when I look at Trump, what I look at and see is that he was told things that these are, and he's like going, why are they impossible? Like this is crazy. This shouldn't be impossible. It shouldn't be impossible to get a vaccine. With the technology that we have today, with the amount of smart people that we have that know how to do this at this point in our country, in our world's history, why is this impossible? Why are you telling me this? It's mostly possible because you've put regulations in place that would make it impossible. Let's just get rid of don't be stupid. Don't be stupid, you moron. Move the regulations. Put the smartest people together from the greatest corporations in our world and put them together and say, hey, we need this done today. We need it done yesterday and get it done. And so you have a guy that just says, it's dumb to make this impossible, right? It's literally stupid in regard to the economy. Why should we not be able to do that? Because in politics in Washington, D.C., and Eddie would know more than anybody else because she worked in Washington, D.C. and knows a great deal about how Washington, D.C. works, that you just have people that just like they all have their hand in somebody else's pocket. They have their agenda. They got voted based on that they were going to scratch somebody else's back. And this is why nothing gets done, because you have everybody has their own self-interest and how they got voted in. That gets in the way. No, I'm not going to vote for that because I promised, Pfizer that I wouldn't vote for that. I'm not going to vote for that because I told China that I would never vote for something like that. Right? So you have all these things happening, and here you have a guy in Donald Trump going, I owe no one anything. I'm gonna make this happen. I don't care what you think. And that's why he's been attacked. And that's why he's getting attacked by Democrats and Republicans, rhinos. And a whole number of other corporations and companies, pharmaceutical companies. He's being attacked by the devil. And then you come to us. You got Hedy and I. And again, this is from a personal standpoint, is that what we expect, and I think Hedy expects this too, and it's already happened from time to time, as she was leaving the Muslim religion, and I was, going from, this old guy, not old in age, old Andy, into the new Andy, is that you get these attacks from people who know you. You have people that you used to be married to. You have people that are family that will attack you, family members that will attack, family members that will shun you. And you have all this happening. And as long as you know that you have God, And as long as you know that you have people in Christ that you can now depend on, that are family, right? They become family. They're part of the church, part of your world. And you begin to focus on those people and understand that it's possible that maybe those people that have shunned you or hated on you or whatever that they may see something positive and then come around. And I think Hetty has had that happen with her too, where you have people that were maybe upset with what the decision she made of going from one religion to the next. But now are coming around and going, you know what? You are different. You seem happy. You seem like amazing. Like the things that you wrote about this guy, Andy, were amazing, right? And then I have people on my side kind of like, you know what? I'm sorry that you feel that way. I'm sorry that you're sad. I've been told that's very Christian of you. I've had that said to me over the last couple of days. Like, oh, that's not very Christian of you to do that. And trying to draw me down and to make a point that I'm not being the guy that I'm trying to be. I will fail from time to time, but also, I speak badly about demonic things, and I think that's I think for the time being, I think that's allowed. I will get better at that, and I will not do that so much. But I hope I'm making my point that the impossibility of going from old Andy to new Andy is not impossible. I no longer see it. The fact that I'm with somebody that is amazing was not impossible, and I kind of thought that it was, because I would settle for some people that weren't is great. It is probably that I thought that I had to kind of settle. And in this case, there's no settling. I mean, if you've seen us together, you saw us talking to each other yesterday, if you're on the show, and there's nothing that I'm settling for. I am so lucky. I'm so fortunate that I don't deserve, I think sometimes the person that I have in Hedia in my life. In a very short period of time, we've discovered that we're madly in love with each other. And so that was an impossibility, I thought, just months ago. And that's not to say that some of the people that I've met and kind of, whether you want to call it dating or courting or whatever you want to say, and saying hi to and that kind of stuff weren't that great. It's just that I think that where I am in my life and where Hetty is in her life, it's a perfect match. She's an amazingly smart person, incredibly smart person. We had that discussion today, and it's just an incredible story. And we're probably going to share more of our story. We haven't shared the whole thing. There's more of the story that you got to hear. So I hope this all made sense. I know it sounded a little bit rambling from time to time, but the impossibility of of what's happening in our country and our world, I think we're going to work through it. And again, I'm always positive about, more on the positive side. I like to lean on the positive side of things. That kind of rubs people the wrong way. How are you always happy about things? How are you always so positive that it's always going to work out? That's how I choose to live my life. that it's always going to work out. And my assistant goes, I don't understand. How is it you're so positive? I don't know. I just think that with God, especially in your life, that I don't live in fear. I just don't live in fear. That's not how I live. That even though, some pretty horrible things can be happening, in the end, that things are going to work out to the better. And I don't know how to put it any other way. So let's see what Hetty has to say. Oh, man, she has a lot to say. I wasn't looking at the comments. Wow. Okay. I'm so sorry. I missed so many comments. Sticks and stones. That's always a good saying. People will try to bring you down. The devil will work through people and their words, and it will be a constant. As you begin to make improvement on your life, it offends people. And then they try to bring you back. Like, no, you're the guy that used to drink and then get naked and jump into the pool. Off the roof. You're the guy that would, say these things or do these things. You're the guy. What? That's impossible. You cannot be that guy now. We're not going to let you. We're not going to let you be that guy because you're the fun guy, right? Which isn't always positive. The fun guy isn't always positive, but those are the things that they try. They don't like it. They don't like it when you leave the world of debauchery. They don't like it when you leave who you used to be. It's offensive to some people and it drives people crazy. And even people that are Christians, right? I know people that are Christians that are very, very bizarre in their thoughts and how they don't like it when you have success and when you have love and when you have positive things happen in your life. It is a very strange thing. So sorry about that. Give yourself a break. You were young, but we had a good time, didn't we, Carol? Well, at least I had a good time. I don't want to drag you into this world. You're so sweet. I love you too. I didn't mean to just go over that, but I do. You know that I do. The Lord was molding both you and Hedia these past few years so that you would both be spiritually ready for each other at just the right time during these amazing times we're living in here in 2020. It is amazing times. Queen Esther was Persian too. Yes. I recently learned that. I'm not sure how that came up, but I'm not sure that Hedia even brought that up. Somebody else, I think, at some point sent me a private message and said that's so interesting because Queen Esther was Persian too. Yeah, maybe it was Hedia. I don't remember. Yep. Maybe it was Hedia. I can't remember, but I remember that got brought up in conversation. Thank you, Carol. I do appreciate that very much. You have such amazing friends. I do. It's funny. I'm talking about some people that kind of drag you down, but I also I'm so, and I think I said this, but I just want to make sure this is clear. I have so many friends that I had no idea that I had so many amazing friends that are just so loving and so positive in their comments and have said some of the most amazing things. I mean, I don't want to go to them because I don't want to be self-serving, but some of the words that people use to describe their relationship with me or me and how they think of me, I'm moved. I'm moved by some of the words that the people use. With God, all things are him possible. I love that. Oh my gosh. All right. That's so self-serving, but thank you, Hedia. Led by example, showing others what it looks like to walk in faith, plant seeds for others, as Hedia said last night, and keep watering those seeds for others. Then pray for that those seeds take root. Absolutely. I didn't marry until I was 36. My church friends introduced me to my husband. Oh, that's awesome. He saved me after 9/11. He was the rock. He was my rock. His words and wisdom saved me. Good for you guys. Wow, that's awesome. I need to hear that story. Carol, you and your husband need to come on my show and tell your story. Let me know if that's possible. That'd be awesome. No luck at all. Great fortune because of him. Ah, yep. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone. The new is here. 2 Corinthians 5:17. I told you guys, she is a walking Bible encyclopedia. I'm not sure if you caught. I don't think you caught. I'm pretty sure she just probably wrote that off the top of her head, and she knows. All right, my friends. I just wanted to come on because I was so moved by the comments from Hedia's post from friends across the globe. Literally, people that I've known from the marketing, again, from police department marketing to dog training. And I don't know what I did to deserve such great friends, but I'm very fortunate, and God has blessed me more than I knew. I didn't know God was blessing me, of course, back in the day, and did not realize it. I realize it now. I realize that He was shaping me and forming me for this time in my day. I have, these children that are here and probably listening with one ear. They always are, right? Children are always listening to what you're saying, regardless of how they look. They're listening, and I don't want them to wait until they're 58 before they find the love of their life. I don't, clearly that's not necessary. But for whatever reason, God chose this path for me, chose the same path for Hedia. And there's got to be a reason. We've been able to share our story last night and a little bit today through the comments. But regardless of where you are in your life, whether you're 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, 50, 60. There's, as long as you're walking on this earth and breathing, there's an opportunity for you to change your life and to find God and to turn the impossible into possible. You will do it. You just need to follow God and read the Bible more than 4 times a week. That will change your life. I guarantee it. It has changed my life. I have gone to being in some aspect of God's word 7 days a week. And it has been amazing. I would say it's a miracle, but it's not. It is God working in my life. All right, my friends. I love you guys. I love you, Hedia, and everybody else that's on on the show, and I appreciate your kind words and that you follow. Even those that are watching, because I see there's more people watching than I have in comments here. So those of you that are watching from afar, at some point, if you would comment and say hi, either give like a heart or a dislike or whatever you want to do, that would be great too. If you're watching the replay, please feel free to comment and let me know what you think about what we talked about tonight. And again, as always, I love you guys. And I appreciate that you take the time to spend this time with me. And God bless. And thank you for everything. Take care. Bye.